not everyone would be comfortable. It's because it's the only way to feel whether what we're presenting is resonating or not. So it's aside from seeing Brother Mustafa, I'd love to see also the rest of you guys, inshallah.
Yeah, I appreciate if it's possible to turn on your camera, but yeah, if it's not.
And if it's not, at least to inshallah unmute and introduce yourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, let me start like with the introduction and we'll ask people to introduce themselves. And as I said, I am recording this now. So, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Jazakumullah khairan everyone for attending today. And this is like, I would say, an extra session to our Muslim Student Leadership Conference on marketing. And and I would like to start with the best way to start is the words from Allah from the Quran. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم آمن الرسول بما أنزل إليه من ربه المؤمنون كل آمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله لا نفرق بين أحد من رسله وقالوا سمعنا وأطعنا غفرانك ربنا وإليك المصير لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها لها ما كسبت وعليها ما اكتسبت ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. I will read the meanings of the ayat in English. Allah belongs whatever is in the heavens and whatever is in the earth. Whatever you show what is within yourselves or conceal it, Allah will bring you to account for it. Then He will forgive whom He wills and punish whom He wills. And Allah is over all things competent. The messenger has believed in what was revealed to him from his Lord, and so have the believers. All of them have believed in Allah and His angels and His books and His messengers, saying, we make no distinction between any of His messengers, and they say, we hear and we obey. We seek your forgiveness, our Lord, and to you is the final destination. Allah does not charge a soul except its capacity. It will have the consequences of what good it has gained, and it will be the consequence of what evil it has earned. Our Lord, do not impose blame upon us if we have forgotten or erred. Our Lord, and lay not upon us a burden like that which you laid upon those before us. Our Lord, and burden us not with that which we have no ability to bear, and pardon us, and forgive us, and have mercy upon us. You are a protector, so give us victory over the disbelieving people. Also, I would like to read the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the proportion of Turtle Island, we now call Canada, has been home since time immemorial to the ancestors of First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. We recognize that in this territory, Indigenous rights holders have endured historical oppression and continue to endure inequalities that have largely resulted from the widespread failure of non-Indigenous treaty people to hold up their responsibilities. We accept that it is our responsibility to acknowledge the territories in which we work, live, and celebrate as a necessary first step towards honoring the original occupants of Turtle Island. So, as we start today, we're going to cover our session is titled Marketing 101, and hopefully this will help everyone who is working in. I believe this is an important topic for MSAs and anyone who's active in campus or community, how to raise awareness about your activities and how to increase the attendance to your activity. I'm going to introduce our speaker Karim, but I would prefer if every one of us like briefly introduce himself, like you can like turn off your mic and just in one sentence, like briefly in one sentence introduce yourself. So I will start with myself. My name is Mustafa Al-Houshi. I'm currently a software engineer. I was active with Queen's University MSA back in 2011 when I came to Canada to do my graduate studies. And now I am volunteering with MAC and helping organizing this conference. I would like if others can turn off, like unmute themselves and introduce themselves.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Ali. I'm from St. Andrew Bassett. I'm in grade 11 now.
Sorry, which city?
The school's St. Andrew Bassett from London, Ontario.
Okay. As I said, if it's possible for people to turn off the camera, that will be great. But if you can't, that's fine. Who else would like to speak to introduce himself? Nusayba or Sabiha Khan. If you can just unmute yourself and yeah, go ahead, Sabiha.
This is Sabiha from the MSA at Dalhousie University in Halifax. I'm currently in my third year of computer science, and currently I'll be entering my third year in university, and I'm the Vice President External for the MSA at Halifax.
MashaAllah, that's me. Who else would like to introduce himself?
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Niseva. I'm from MSc Memorial University of Newfoundland. I'm in my final year studying geography at MAN.
MashaAllah. Can we have maybe Sama or Zaina or Zia? Or Ahmed, if you can't speak, maybe type in the chat, like just briefly introduce yourself, which city you are from, which university, college. So yeah, please either turn off, like unmute yourself and briefly introduce yourself, or if you can't, maybe type it in the chat. Just shout out in the chat. Okay. Yeah, Ahmed, go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Ahmed Hussein from Montreal. I am the president of Hands for Charity.
Yes, welcome, Brother Ahmed. Ahmed, Hands for Charity is a sponsor of our conference, and inshallah we'll talk a bit about so let me introduce the speaker, Karim Elemam. Karim is a digital transformation consultant who provides consulting and training services to companies in the fields of marketing, management, and business analytics. Previously, he worked as a digital strategist in WestJet. Karim graduated from McMaster University with a degree in computer science and business studies, and also holds an MBA from Les Roches, Crans Montana Global Hospitality. I hope I pronounced this correctly.
That's correct, yes.
Okay. With a focus on digital marketing, and studied management of enterprise data analytics at the University of Toronto. So, Karim, the floor is yours. And yeah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thanks for taking time off your day off to attend this quick session. Hopefully, it's going to be informative. As I was telling Brother Mustafa before everyone joined, we're hoping for this to be more on the interactive side, meaning that you're not going to go through 10 slides plus a Q&A. This is more for you guys to ask questions as I'm explaining along. There won't be a specific time for Q&A. Please stop me at any time because it's meant to be a learning experience. The field, I do work in the field of digital marketing. It's a pretty vast field, meaning that 20 minutes or so won't do it justice. We're really trying to just scratch the surface and open your eyes on the possibilities in it. And inshallah, this will inspire more questions. If I don't go through a topic that you were expecting me, feel, and we run out of time, feel free also to email me. I'll leave it with Brother Mustafa to forward my contact just so that inshallah you guys can get the value of this. So I will be let me know if you guys see my whiteboard. So if we think, and I'm just going to be drawing here, if we think about whether this is your website or Facebook page, digital marketing is essentially either getting people to find it organically meaning I'm not paying anything to sign, or I am paying you to see my content. By the way, this could be content, this could be an event, it could be trying to collect donations. It doesn't really matter. The concept ends up being the same for them. So when we're thinking about site is how do we, and I'd like you guys to interact, how do people usually find your site? We're going to get into Facebook or other platforms in a second. Any ideas? Feel free, guys, to unmute. I assure you guys, if meet and become more interactive, you'll get more value out of this. So I know it's
By
Sunday.
placing like Facebook has ads and
Perfect.
more like engine optimization also for websites.
So great. So in the world of Facebook, we have the ads, which means, for example, if you see a content or join this event, so and so, and it will say promoted. Now that is the paid. Any idea with respect to the unpaid? How do people
send it to groups?
Great. So basically, what we're talking about is you're approaching people, which is like the pusher, or people kind of finding you. So if you think about anyone here follows, for example, Sheikh Yasser Qadri, or anyone on Facebook, or Sheikh Omar Seman, do they end up sending you anything, or do they pay you most of the time? Most of the time, you'll notice that they're not sending you anything or paying, with the exception of if there was a Hajj trip or something like that, or a major event. Most of the time we end up finding their content. This happens without getting into the nitty-gritty, and Brother Mustafa now works for Facebook with respect to the algorithm and finding what's relevant and showing it to you. So the online world is basically positioning yourself to make sure you're relevant for whoever is doing what we call endless scrolling, or in the world of a website, doing a Google search. So the reality is, if I type anything, and I'll just give an example here. One sec. So I heard Halifax Association, for example.
I think the university is Dalhousie. Halifax.
Yeah. So, and you'll see it here. It shows it. This. Can anybody tell me if this is paid or not? This, no one is paying for this. It just shows up. That's what we call in our world here. Oh, sorry. SEO, search engine optimization, meaning that, and I see something in the chat here. Oh, I apologize. All right. So my apologies. I missed that from the chat earlier. And if you notice, Sheikh Omar Suleiman, when do they actually pay? Whether it's Sheikh Omar Suleiman or Sheikh Nauman Ali Khan, when do you see them actually promoting something? It's when they have one of their paid products, whether it's Bayena or their research institute. That's when you tend to see more of their promoted item. Why? Because whether it's Facebook or Facebook is really smart when it says, hey, you're trying to make money, whether it's for a good cause or not. With that specific program, or you're trying to sign up people for a paid program. So in Facebook, like, I want a piece of the pie too. If you're going to promote a paid service, the algorithm will not give it as much of a chance to show up organically without paying. So this is pretty standard. But it doesn't matter if you're trying to raise money, if you're in the most quote-unquote competitive season, you'll find it in Ramadan. Whenever Facebook gets the sense that you're raising money, whether it's for a good cause or not, remember, they're agnostic. They're like, okay, now pay and you'll show up. But if you find a casual post that's just talking about fara'id or something like that, then Facebook is like, okay, I don't really need to charge that person money because they're not really after something. Maybe they're after likes or something like that, but at the end of the day, there's not money being made there. So algorithms have become pretty smart in realizing, okay, when do I want to make sure I'm going to deprioritize it? And as you might have noticed, if you've been trying to promote any of your events or services or your activities, that today the algorithm biases way more the paid versus the unpaid, and that because they're all a business, and at the end of the day, they have to make money. If
But
we think of,
I personally never knew that. I just
that's how it operates, and especially so the
So
bigger
if
you
we
are,
say an event is, if you say, okay, there's a halaqa and you don't mention
Yeah.
fees, it will reach more people than if we say, hey, there's a dinner and you need to pay $5.
yeah, if they recognize it's a paid event, there is a bias towards make sure, because if you're making it, they're like, okay, well, you have some sort of ROI, meaning that if you guys have, let's say, a dinner, you usually budget an X amount for marketing and the rest will cover the food costs. So they know enough to say, okay, well, you're making money, I want a piece of it. Just like, for example, if Brother Mustafa is asking me today, hey, do you want to volunteer in with a session with the MSAs? I'd be like, sure, why not? If I find out that Brother Mustafa is making money behind my back, I'd be like, hey, I want a piece of the pie too. So it almost works in the same way where are you doing something here and it's just here, it's organic, then I'll help you out. I'm not saying that don't take this as 100% of how it works, but it's more or less of what it is. And that's why you will see a lot of organic posts from Ustaz Nauman Ali Khan, but you'll see tons of paid posts when it comes to Bayena TV. Simply because this is a paid product and it's hard to justify for it to show up high organically. Any questions so far? Did anyone notice that if they're following, and I believe with Sheikh Ahmad Salman, the institute, the name escapes me right now there, with their research one, I just can't think of it at the top.
Someone just typed Yaqeen, Zaina.
Yeah, oh yeah, yes, my apologies, I missed it. So exactly, and you will see actually, even though Yaqeen is quote unquote not in the business of making money, but in Facebook's view, it is an institute and it's trying to get some recognition. So you will see a lot of, and if you go on Facebook, I assure you, 9 out of 10 times, if you see a Yaqeen post, you will see that it says it's like promoted or paid ad. Versus when Brother Ahmad is talking about the Angel series, you're not that he won't promote it, like he can choose to promote it, but it has a higher chance of showing up unpaid. And so I'm glad somebody, I have one fan here, Sister Zaina. With the rest, any questions about what we're covering so far? So I'll show you where things get tricky. Let's say I'm looking for, you see what happened here? I just typed Muslim charity. Do you see what the first result is? It is, regardless who the institute is, it's paid. And how do we know it's paid? Right there. Because there's quote unquote money to be made here. No matter what you search for, that something that has to be paid, you'll see people competing. That is what we call in our world PPC, pay per click. So this charity is willing to pay, for example, up to $3 for somebody to click on there. When do you see this become super competitive? In the last 10 days of Ramadan, where you see, so Google and Facebook, to a certain extent, it works with supply and demand, meaning that if there is, they only have enough real estate. If there are a lot of people that want to pay for their ads to show up because they know that this is the quote unquote the donation season, the $3 will end up costing $10 instead. So it's a bidding war. It's what the market is willing to pay. Facebook is very similar. However, Facebook focuses more on impression, meaning people actually seeing the ad. So you'll see, that's why you'll see two popular terms. And let me just clear this. In the world of, you'll see pay per click, or it might say cost per click, and you will see CPM. CPM stands for cost per 1,000 impressions. So if for every 1,000 people that see it, for example, we are going to be paying $4. On the surface, it might seem like a great deal, or usually a cost CPM range from $4, let's say, to $10. However, can you actually remember most of the ads that you've seen yesterday while you're scrolling? Most people answer is no. So an impression means it showed up. That doesn't mean that you actually scrolled and paused in it and looked at it, but it actually showed up. You see this if you're on the Toronto Star, reading the Toronto Star. I'm just being biased a bit in Toronto, their site, and you see an ad. Ads are everywhere because of how aggressive the advertising world is. People don't really remember the ads as much. It's the same works for it. Just if I show you 1,000 messages a day, you're not going to retain it that much, and you almost become blind to it. Just like if you're in Toronto and if you're driving by the same road every day and there are billboard ads, you become blind to them. That's what a lot of us are doing. So that's where creativity is really important in terms of how it shows up, and you have to be very focused on who sees your advertising.
I think
Facebook
this also
has
applies to the messages, so many messages we get on WhatsApp or so many.
exactly. Yeah. 100%, and there's an art to it. Like if you'll see a lot of whether it's mosques or and it's very applicable to MSA, is how often do you message and what kind of messaging, because sometimes it's too much, sometimes too little, and finding that balance is very tricky, because we all know what if it's an email, people unsubscribe, and if it's WhatsApp, whether they leave the group or mute it, the impact is the same. Your message is not coming across. So the online world, the beauty of it is you can do some trial and error. For example, the Muslim Association of Canada can try emailing members once a day, and then they'll notice, oh, people are starting to tune out or unsubscribe. Then we're going to try once every 3 days, or we're going to try fun content, or we're going to make sure we're not going to ask for money more than once a month. So no one has a secret formula. And today I'm not here to offer a secret formula, but say a lot of it is trial and error to find out what resonates with your group. You might be dealing with a younger crowd that has more tolerance for some domestic, or once, and Brother Mustafa, once you're in the professional world, there's lesser tolerance or the ability to keep up with all the different messaging. So it really depends. You have to understand that we're a very impatient generation. That's why you see things like TikTok and other platforms taken off, simply because what is TikTok's business model? Very short videos. Why? Because not that we're all busy, but we all like to feel that we're busy. There's no, I'm going to watch something that's longer than a minute. That's actually a lot of, even though we can talk about nothing, or somebody can watch a Netflix show for an hour, but all of a sudden a minute feels like a lot of time when whether it appears as an ad, and a lot of it's the psychology. That's why Twitter took off, because a lot of people are not interested in reading the details about an article or news, but they want to see in 150 characters, and now it's allowing for more. Just give me the summary. I'm sure you guys hear it, the too long didn't read, the TLDR. This is really the model of today. So you'll notice that, and a lot of shuyukh actually have tried that, to have posts that are very informative without photos versus posts with photos. Anybody will tell you that the post without a photo has a very low viewability. It's simply because just people are intimidated by a lot of text. That's not, when we say people, we're generalizing. Of course, that doesn't mean everyone, but that's the majority of your crowd does not have or is not wired to read a lot of text in an organic fashion. And I just want to stop here for a second to see if there are questions. I know we covered quite a bit here.
I have a questions regarding the cost per 1,000 impressions. So impressions in the sense that like if we post an ad and then like I don't understand what impressions means. Like that's what I meant.
So have you seen my screen right there, the ad here? Here's an impression. Yes. You saw it. Yes. Even for the rest, let's say somebody here on this call might not be paying attention, but as far as Facebook is concerned, or the others, they saw it, they scrolled. Saw it doesn't mean that your eyes paid attention to it. It just was in your vision, whether you paid attention to it or not. And I mean, I don't want to derail the conversation. There's obviously some fraud where it comes to that, and not seeing could be like a split second, could be changing. But just to summarize it, so I don't even like have Facebook, so let me just see if I can just show it in the camera here, because I honestly don't have I know it's a bit, I'm a bit of a hypocrite that I don't use Facebook personally much, but I just want to see. I mean, this is a classic example of Facebook is actually advertising there. So I saw that ad. Of course, I mean, whether Facebook pays for Facebook is a different story, but this is a classic example of an impression. I was scrolling down. I could have been just going like this, up and down. It's an impression as far as we're concerned, because you see, now the tricky thing is whenever you're doing any advertising, is you have to have a clear call to action. Call to action. You'll see people say, learn more, sign up, whatever it is. But you have to tell me what to do. A lot of times where we think, okay, well, it's obvious, you know, I'm the MSA people, we want people to join our event. But when you're dealing with people online, that call to action has to be crystal clearly. You know, have you ever seen somebody talk to me like a 5-year-old? This is almost what you're doing when you're advertising. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to comment? Do you want me to donate? What is it that you want me to do? And it has to be spelled out. So even though Facebook, like the ad I got was Facebook for business, because they probably see that I focus, it says here, learn more. That's what, sorry, I know it's a bit difficult to see in the camera, but that's really what they want me to do. They want me to learn more. If Facebook wanted me to pay for it, they would have said, you know, sign up now. But that, and the call to action depends, and let me just clear this. Have you ever heard of where you are in the funnel? Have you ever seen that? So Facebook is saying, okay, Karim was not in the mindset of using Facebook for business. So there's Karim right here. So he's really high up the funnel. So when Karim is here, I'm going to tell him to learn more. Once Karim has learned a bit more about Facebook's offering, then they can be aggressive and say, you know, sign up now. Now, this is pretty standard in the world of advertising. It depends really where you are in the journey, and then that's where I'll change the messaging. So if you are not in the mindset of, and that's why we try to, in the world of digital marketing, we classify people to low intent and high intent. What is high intent? Of course, if it was during Eid time, I want to say Qurbani donation. Very high intent. See what happened when I wrote Qurbani donation? Do you see how many ads I see? 4 ads. How do I know they're ads? They say right there ads. Why is that the case? I already gave away my intention. They don't, these 4 organizations, they don't have to guess at what level. If I'm typing Qurbani donation, usually I'm pretty serious about it. Would you agree?
Yes,
That
okay,
is
yes.
so the beauty of Google, and that's why Google and Facebook, they almost have a bit of different markets. Google tends to have the highest intent. Somebody spelling out what they want. Like, for example, you can go as far as say, I want to join MSA in the, you are giving away. Facebook works in a bit of a different way. Facebook saying, okay, you gave Facebook something that you didn't give Google and vice versa. What do you give Facebook? Not your exact intention, but almost everything else. You give Facebook your age, your interests, they have an idea of your friends, they know what you like to follow. You basically told Facebook everything except your 100%. So Facebook knows where you are, where you've been, the fact that you like to follow these shields. They know everything, and not because they're spying on it, because you actually willingly gave it to them. Where Google is limited to what you've been typing. They do have different methods, but just for the sake of today, with Google, you're essentially feeding them your intent, and it's a bit different. Like, and even within Google, I can just say, Samsung just introduced a new phone, and I type here Samsung Galaxy Fold. So that means I'm interested to learn more about the phone. But if I want to look at the price, all of a sudden it becomes a bit more aggressive because, hey, this person is serious. He just doesn't want to watch a video of how the product looks like. He's actually going as far as inquiring about the price. So even every keyword you enter in Google has a different level of intent. Because if I type review, did you guys notice something? Are there any ads? No, even though there were ads right before. Why? I just said, and forget about like these, what we call the shocking one. I just said, I'm interested in a review. This guy just wants to either watch a video or read a bit about the phone, but he's definitely in a different place in the funnel. He wants to watch comparisons. So with Google, you're giving away hints. Facebook, the most impactful thing that anybody will tell you about Facebook, what is it? What's the most impactful form of advertising? When you are retargeting, meaning somebody was, for example, on your site, but didn't take the action intended, or on your event page and didn't take the action intended. And I'm sure you guys have all seen it. Have you ever shot for something on Amazon and didn't buy it and see the ad everywhere? This is where Facebook excels the most. Sorry, Sister Sabia, you were about to say something?
Just answering what we have seen. It's like
Yeah, and this is the most impactful form of advertising is called retargeting. Now, I know we might be a bit over time, but I just want to explain an important concept. For you to be efficient in your advertising and save money, the best thing in today's world is to collect as many emails as possible. This is your goal in today's world. So you, if you research the world of digital marketing today, you'll hear a lot about cookies disappearing, so on and so forth. It's a bit beyond scope today, but the future of advertising is heading towards, hey, I either know people's emails or their phone numbers. What am I going to do with them? Am I going to call them? Or am I actually going to email them with them? What am I going to do with these 2 points for the sake of digital marketing? Am I going to text them? I am actually going to use, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, currently send them emails, maybe.
So sending emails is good as a method, but I can even take it a step further. I can upload a list of emails to Facebook and say, hey, if any of these emails match their Facebook profiles, I want you to advertise to them. That's one step. So you're right. You can definitely send them an email campaign, assuming that, and again, here we're always working with the assumption that somebody has accepted your terms in terms of marketing to them. So we always have to watch out with respect to privacy and that you're not violating the anti-spam law. But assuming that somebody willingly gave you the email and opted in for marketing, the option, of course, of sending them emails is great. Maybe someone will tell you that emails, their open rate, and let me just open the chat here. And asking for you. Exactly. That's why MSAs ask for email. Email is very impactful for many reasons. It shows up in people's inboxes, of course, which is one of the cheapest forms of advertising because it almost costs nothing except people's time. But the other reason is you can actually upload to Facebook a list of emails and say, hey, can you make sure these guys see my ad if it matches a Facebook profile? That's one avenue. The other avenue is because, remember here, we were talking about Google is very competitive when we're talking about any donation, for example. Now, oops, I made a boo-boo here. Now, because it's very competitive, I can say, you know what, I'm not willing to pay for everyone who clicks, let's say $10, because that can set me back big time. And I'm not sure, are they going to donate or not? I can tell Google, hey, I'm going to email you a list of emails. And if you see any of them signed in with their Gmail here, that's when you're going to advertise to them. So you can actually go with that level of detail because when we're working with us, MSAs and all that, we don't have, of course, unlimited funds and we can't really quote unquote compete with everyone. So we want to be smart with the money. Email is king because you can approach people in different avenues. Same with, by the way, with phone numbers, you can almost upload a list and Facebook creates what we call the custom audience. So custom audience is pretty interesting because let's say you only have, I don't mean to downplay, but actually not only a list of 500 emails or something like that, and that will not give you enough reach. Facebook and the other tools can tell you, hey, you can reach people that are similar to them. So the platforms, and by the way, when I say Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be the others. I'm just using it as an example. And plus, Brother Mustafa works for Facebook, so I'm trying to impress him a bit. Is that they are actually smart enough to notice that there is a pattern between these 500 and 600 that quote unquote, they're all Muslim. So I'll try to find people like them, or they all happen to be between the ages of 17 and 24. So, and I believe that's your focus more on the AI side of things, right, Brother Mustafa? So, and this is essentially how they advance their tools. They're trying to see, okay, what are the commonalities? So if we tell you we can advertise to people like them, well, what does like them mean? Are they the same height? No, they look at different data points, and that's where they realize that, okay, there is a comment, they all tend to follow something, or they have very similar interests. So I'm going to find you people that are not from that list, but behave like them. So that is the power of email. Email allows you to, of course, send them mailing list, and phone number, whether it's WhatsApp or uploading that list, is very beneficial. But you definitely have to try different methods for you to succeed in that. There is quite a bit of trial and error. Even if you quote unquote hire somebody paid, you'll notice that they're trying different things and see what sticks with your group. This is a common practice because there is no one size fits all. You're either trying to get people to find you organically, meaning you're not going after them, but kind of persuading, because from a psychological perspective, if I'm looking for Qurbani donation and I willingly go to IDRF, I will actually spend way more time on the site versus if I go right here. Why is that? Because I feel like Islamic Relief was going after me, but IDRF was just like right there waiting, and I willingly went to it. It's just like if you ever walk in a mall, I know before COVID it was more popular, and have you ever seen the ones with the perfume store, and they're like standing outside and trying to get you in the store? Even if they get you in the store, they have a much lower chance of you purchasing something versus somebody who willingly walks in. Would you say that that's true? Like that you walked in, versus somebody being aggressive, and you almost, I don't say you feel bad, but you like at the spur of the moment, you kind of say, okay, fine, I'm just gonna there's that moment, okay, I'll give it a shot. But they have to impress you, quote unquote, impress you really fast, or else they know that they have a small window to close. So the same applies for Facebook or any advertising platform. When something is a promoted ad, even whether Ustaz Nouman Ali Khan promoting Bayina or Sheikh Ahmed Suleiman promoting Yaqeen, they know that they have to impress you really fast. And that's what we call, the landing page experience. So if you go in there, you have to find what you want right away. So what is Islamic Relief doing? Okay, you already told me that you want to donate Qurbani. Let's cut to the chase. Here are the prices, here are the regions, right away. The key is everything is above the fold. I don't have to scroll down. I don't have to learn about anything else. You said Qurbani. Now you go and here's the donate. How long does it take people to judge a website? Can anybody tell me before they decide whether they want to stay longer or not? Any guesses?
5 seconds.
Oh, you're too generous there.
Millisecond then?
Yeah, a second and a half. Yeah, you're looking at before. And that's how we all browse. So we go like, oh, I'm not sure if they're doing, they're offering what I want. Not so sure. What do they want me to sign up for? That's actually how people browse. Before they decide, okay, like now that I found, okay, fine, I'll read a bit more about what they're offering. But right at this moment, you have a second and a half window that you're judging. That applies. So that's why if you ever see anything, they have to have a clear call to action. I'm not going to give you here a lecture about how it's being slaughtered or anything. If you're interested to learn more about how we distribute the Qurbani, then we can read about it here. Here, let's cut to the chase. You want to donate? Here it is. So this is not like when you're walking in campus and, when if you have a booth on campus, and if you got to witness campuses before COVID, I'm sorry, I don't want to, if somebody had their first year as last year, it might have been a bit tricky. But if you've had your pre-COVID campus experience and you have your booth right there, it's almost like, you're trying to grab somebody to the booth who was just walking around. And you have that small window to impress before they listen, whether you're doing dawah work or whatever it is that you're doing. The same concept applies. You caught someone at a time where they were not necessarily as interested to listen to you, and you have to make your case pretty fast. Any other questions, guys? There are a few that I haven't heard from here. So advertising your MSA as opposed to people exploring your page comes with having to impress. Yeah. Yeah. So of course, when you're dealing with MSAs and something like that, I don't want to make it seem like people judge it in the second half. Like the second and a half is very applicable to the quote unquote commercial world if you're looking for shoes. Usually if you're targeting the right people and somebody is, let's say, is Muslim on campus and all that, you would expect them to be a bit more patient than a second half. So the behavior, I'm not saying it's standard, doesn't matter what they're looking for, but not much more patient. And this is where I'm going. So yes, so if it's not clear as an MSA, what you're advertising right away, like, are you trying to collect funds? Are you trying to get me to attend a specific event? Is it free? Is all of this communicated pretty clear? And that's why, have you ever seen, even with a lot of Muslim events, when it's free, they write free all in capital. Have you ever seen that? Because they know people, when they're looking at that, they have a second of it, so it has to stand out. Well, why don't they just write normal? Because some people, they won't even, they're like, oh, let me guess, here comes another $20 event and all of that. So they know as they're scrolling that they're looking for that. So that's why you see free, usually all capital, or the sign up before, something like that, because they're banking on, okay, they're not going to give me a chance, so I want to get it out of the way quickly that it's free. Now that you know, okay, fine, you're going to start reading now. That's essentially why they're doing it. So that's, by the way, how most of us behave. Don't look at, the people that understand that you're trying to recruit as being that. Is just we've all been a bit wired that way to make easy calls, because in today's world, remember, whether you notice it or not, you're facing 500 to 1,000 sales pitches a day between TV, the internet, and all that. So you're being bombarded left and right. So if your brain just got used to tuning it out, unless there's a message that actually sticks.
So I'm just thinking out loudly from a MSA perspective. So if an event is free or there's no cost, like a halaqah, we expect the social media algorithms to make it reach out to more people. If the event requires fees, social media algorithms might make it reach to a smaller audience, and hence you might need to pay for advertisement. So okay, let me mention two things. So first, my understanding is most of them, I'll not say most, many of them are free, but of course, if there are theirs, there'll be a fee. Also, I think MSAs hold the charity week once a year, and they might have charity events as well. So these might require ads. But given that MSAs in general, they have very limited budget, I don't know, like maybe you can tell us how much you suggest to pay for ads, and also how they can improve the organic.
Sure. So great point. And yes, knowing that we do have limited funds, organic, you can think about it as you have a plant. You have to water it every day for it to grow. So what is the quote unquote watering in the Facebook world is having interesting posts on a daily or an every other day fashion. Why is that? When what happens when you need a favor from a friend and you didn't talk to them in quite some time? This is exactly, it feels a bit awkward, right? Where you say they're like, okay, so you only talk to me when there is. But if you're constantly talking to me on Facebook, whether sharing interesting dua, like things that we're doing, and then it comes to the point of your event, it has a much higher chance of showing up organically versus that's the only thing that you post. So think about organic. When we say organic, think about the word itself. You see food that's organic, it means that they took the time, they didn't put any additives or hormones. That's the same with the organic Facebook or organic in the Google world in terms of things showing up. It means that you've been having content in a semi-popular fashion, like whether you're publishing once a day, once every other day, of course within reason, but there's always that fine balance where you're not posting like 20 du'as a day and then it becomes like white noise. So there's content that gets some engagement. And when you're working in the organic, if you've ever posted on any of these platforms, you'll know that there's a good time of the day to post in, where you're going to get more engagement, so on and so forth. So being strategic, also reposting things. There are some free tools that allow you to organize and have things scheduled to post at a specific time for it to gain engagement. But think about in the online world, if you want to be conscious more about your spend, you want to think about how are you going to have a proper content strategy. Usually you don't think about something every other day. You spend the weekend where you think about the different ideas, for example, things that you want to talk about, and you schedule them. Okay, this I'm going to publish on Monday, I'm going to publish on Wednesday. So when your account has that organic, has many organic posts, and then you naturally post an event, a halaqa, whatever it is, it has a way higher chance of viewability. And that's why the quote unquote the popular shuyukh, or the ones that people like to call the influencers, they have it because what the influencers stick with, having content posted at regular periods of time, just so that whenever they quote unquote need something or something like that, it has a higher chance of being seen. And just to note that even if you have the funds, the organic strategy works out better simply because somebody it's like you've nurtured them. You know, when you're asking someone who never worked with the MSA to volunteer from day one, it's going to be a bit tough versus if you've involved them in a few events here and there, and then you ask them, hey, can you help out with that? It's the same. So you look at Facebook or any of the other platforms, you're trying to build a relationship with your followers, and you build a relationship by having a lot of content that would interest them. That's a bit diversified. That doesn't mean means that if you're posting every day or every other day, it cannot be a dua every other day. It could be one time this, another time you're sharing an interesting fact. I mean, we see this even with mosques and the ones that manage to stay active online and have enough what we call engagement, whether it's likes, comments, shares. The ones that mix it up, sometimes they talk about, okay, how do we solve the parking issue? And then another time they're talking about electricity. Whatever it is, it could be some interesting, like, for example, with what's going on in Afghanistan today. People should expect something that you're talking about as you're saying, okay, we're praying for this, or if somebody wants to send funds for that or learn about the situation, you try to be a bit in touch with the current events that are happening and talk about them to draw it, because today everyone is searching about Afghanistan and all that. So there's an expectation. Of course, we're not talking about getting political, but just in basic clear-cut things like that, where you're talking about it or giving your stance or something like that, so that people expect that you always have content, and then they'll end up whether actually liking your page so that your content shows up higher. And that way, whenever you post an event, it has a higher likelihood of reaching people organically.
So instead of because usually the marketing guy in an organization or an MSA, usually his goal or her goal is, okay, whenever there's an event, I do the poster and publish posters and for the events. But now, no,
Yeah.
it shouldn't be what the marketing is doing. Marketing
Exactly.
should understand that they should post engaging content, not just as posters for registration.
Yeah,
We should post
exactly.
things like dua, interesting facts. I'm guessing
Yeah.
also post photos of your events, like
Yeah.
post interesting photos happening on campus, or because people like photos, I think, right?
Definitely. Any media content between photos and videos and all that, it gets much higher engagement. And that's why you'll see even organizations that post a dua, what do they usually do? They post a photo of the dua. Why? Because when people are scrolling down, again, even though the photo can have the same exact dua that's in the text above it, it will have a way higher viewability. Because when people scroll down, the photos, they do stand out. But if you write the dua, whether it's in Arabic or English, just as text, people just keep scrolling down. They're like, okay, whatever. I don't know really what they want. And media tends to resonate. Like some organizations go as far as saying we'll never have a post without a photo or a short. Like, of course, that's a bit like that's why you'll see sometimes photos that you might think, wow, that was meaningless. They just have like the sky or something like that. But because they almost got programmed that if there is no photo, that people might not engage as much. And if you look at your if you scroll on your Facebook, but whether it's an organization or not, you'll see that any post, whether they have a bit of text and a photo with it, has way higher engagement than without it. Videos, I cannot emphasize that they have to be short. Like people just don't have, if you have a trailer for an event, you have different versions of it. You have one that's a minute, but most of them that are the shorter ones that are circulating. People get scared when they see a minute more. They're like, okay, I'll probably watch it later. We all like to pretend that we're busy, guys. Every single one of us, whether you're busy or not. So you watching a video that's longer than a minute is almost you admitting that you're not busy. So that's a bit of a psychological, and that's why platforms like TikTok now that they took up, because, well, what do people do on TikTok? Instead of, in the past, people used to watch, for example, a lecture that was 20 minutes. Now they watch 100 videos in 20 minutes. They still spend the 20 minutes, but at least they felt that, oh, I've never committed 20 minutes to a video, because that means like what, I don't have I have that much time in my hand. No, so people feel better watching that many clips. That's why they say, oh, we watch. That's why I believe Sheikh Sohaib Webb is the one that focuses more on, I could be wrong, on these platforms. And he actually sends the same exact message. He just cuts it into 10 to 15-second clips. Whatever it is, like there is no one size fits all. You guys probably know this by now, that there are different demographics for the different platforms. When I was in university, in my last year, that's when Facebook came out, and that was it actually came out just for universities. When Facebook was the first introduced in 2004, 2005, it was strictly, you could only sign up if you were in a university. Now you'll hear quote unquote that Facebook is for the older crowd, and then people are running to other platforms where they feel it's a bit more engaging. So you have to just be a bit cognizant of
Instagram, I think.
exactly. Instagram is a bit interesting though. If we're talking for MSAs, well, a presence there is great. Instagram is more focused on like, it's very photocentric, meaning it's great if you have food, fashion, things like that. That's where it really stands out. If you want to have meaningful posts, it might not get as much engagement or promote events. What some organizations do is they're like, okay, we'll post on Facebook and we'll just post a photo. If there's a photo for the dua, we'll post it there too, just because Instagram is becoming an expectation that the MSA has, not that it's going to be where you're going to get a lot of the signups for you, but you're almost having it there because there is an expectation there. But yeah, you have to just be a bit more cognizant of the different, and you'll know the demographics of your university. If you're on campus and you're asking people, like, you can try different things. They're like, hey, sign up for our Facebook page and just mention the other platforms, whether it's TikTok or the others, or if they're in the later years of university and you see them a bit more engaged with LinkedIn or something. It's just interesting to see how your demographics. Facebook is still overall the dominant platform when it comes to events and signups, but not the high engagement. So that's why I say it's a trial and error, not just with what posts work, what platforms people resonate with the most. Going to the back to the Instagram point, if you can have everything photocentric and hope that the call to action that they read, and it is great. But if not, like I find it as a great complement, but not an alternative. But yes, definitely videos, and I know we had the initial brother Ahmed that I was going to talk about videos, and I apologize I ate up most of the time. But videos are definitely the new quote unquote photos. So in the past, photos would drive the most engagement. Now having these short clips, hopefully we'll probably send an email, brother Mustafa, where we tell people like, here are different production ideas, if in case some are interested in creating their own content. But these short clips, they take a long way. Like, you'll see, even I follow a specific mosque that's trying to raise funds, just like almost every mosque in the Western world, and they're in the process of construction. Whenever they say, hey, help your local masjid and all of that, they get low engagement. They have a short clip of construction that most of us probably do not understand, but we feel that there's something there. There's way higher engagement just because they're like, okay, we can almost relate to it. It's just that there is a sort of expectation now that, okay, if I don't see it, it might not be real. Whether you're promoting an event and you have a trailer from the previous one, that's what we did in the past. Short is key. Short videos go quite a long way. You can even look at your own viewing behavior and see what you viewed in the past period. And you'll see that there's a trend that you've related more to the shorter videos of anything. There's a psychological barrier whenever you see a video that says even 106, a minute and 6 seconds, and another one that says 57, 57 feels way shorter. And not to say that you actually should try to cap some things at 30 seconds, so on and so forth, but there is a mental hurdle to do something that's a minute and longer. So even, and not to mention that it was going to cost you much more if you're doing proper production to have something that long. You're probably not going to get the proper ROI.
And what about like, so we talked about social media. What about like emails and I don't know, WhatsApp or messaging? I'm not sure.
Sure. They're all great strategies. So they work great hand in hand. That the best organization I've seen that use WhatsApp, and I know it's not an MSA, but ISNA in as a mosque in the GTA, to have they actually have the same thing that they're promoting there. Basically what you're saying is, okay, how am I going to capture people? WhatsApp almost prompts right away. Facebook, they have to manually scroll. So these strategies, they work together hand in hand. They're not like they're not in silo in terms of how they operate. So they're all but email is great, but it's the most sensitive one to how often you send, because people tend to unsubscribe at a high rate. The beauty of email is it's free and it's a bit personalized. Unfortunately, throughout the past few years, if anybody has been doing an email campaign, you'll notice that open rates are shrinking. But open is basically how many people actually open their email. Even Gmail at this point now classifies them in a different folder, because they figure they're like, okay, people are getting bombarded, so we're going to have it under promotions or something like that. Never ever neglected, but there are different push and pull strategies. A lot of the quote unquote the newer generation, they don't expect things to show up in their email inbox because they feel it's a bit intrusive. They want to feel that they found it. And getting the feeling they found it happens whether through Facebook and to a certain extent WhatsApp, but email feels a bit like I don't want to compare it to how the junk mail is getting. It's a strategy that you don't want to neglect simply because it's quote unquote free. The power of having the email addresses is amplified when you use it with Facebook though, to reach specific audiences. But it's something that I mean, I'm part of a lot of mailing lists, and I notice myself engaging lesser and lesser in it, simply because there's just a different perception in it. If it's a person account and somebody that, as long as you don't abuse and you don't show up in their inbox every day, they will really like it. However, you can post every day on Facebook and people won't mind it because people are going to Facebook. The email is actually coming to you. So it's something that a lot of organizations pay very close attention to the unsubscribe rate. Rarely ever, if you post, for example, a lot on Facebook, you'll see people leaving or unfollowing the page. People usually unfollow a page if you post a lot of irrelevant content or super controversial, or you get too political on something, and that's when people would stop, quote unquote, following you or following your organization. But with email, the people are very sensitive. They're like, didn't they just email me yesterday? Where's the unsubscribe button right away? And that's the other thing with email that we have to be conscious of is to make sure that when we collected it, that people opted in for marketing. Try not to neglect that point, because it can become a pretty big deal. Like, always make sure when you're collecting email that they are aware that you're using it for marketing purposes. If they've signed up for an event and you collected the email from there, but you didn't say that you're going to market to them, this could put you in a bit of trouble. Like, students are probably a bit more forgiving, but you can be liable for this a bit. So you just have to be a bit conscious whenever you're collecting it. That's something I noticed some Muslim organizations, they neglect a bit, and we just want to be conscious of this, because now the law really favors whoever is being quote unquote spammed, or the emails being used in a manner that it wasn't collected for.
And what about like WhatsApp or do you think?
Yeah, WhatsApp uh, is a great platform for kind of one-way communication, meaning that you have it where an admin is posting only because it can get a bit out of control. The tricky thing about WhatsApp, some people, yeah, they do leave the groups, but it's kind of hard to tell who unmuted. So that's one thing where you have to also keep a close eye of how many people are actually reading your messages, and then that will give you a sense of posting too much, too little. Remember that WhatsApp, because it shows up in something very personal to them, if you're always appearing high on there, they have a higher likelihood of being like, every time I come and I check my messages, I see the MSA always number one, it will feel a bit intrusive. So you try to minimize as much as you can when you use it. For example, it's like, hey, we've changed the location of Friday prayers. That's great, because if I didn't send it, it would have been, people would have been going to the wrong location. Or we've postponed this event. All these things that are very time sensitive. It works great. But if you're gonna put their dua, you're gonna lose your class. So the messaging in it is very important, like an important lecture, or we just invited a guest speaker and that's happening right away. It is time sensitive with it. So WhatsApp works pretty well with that. And of course, during at least the peaks of the COVID period, WhatsApp was great because, as you guys know, the laws were changing a lot, or what's allowed and what's not, and there was a lot of confusion. So it worked great because everything was very time sensitive. Whether that's going to be the case, Allah Alam, for the next year, but you want to make sure you leave it for these cases so that people know, okay, you sent something, it's probably worth it because it's going to impact them. Like the classic example is when you're changing location of prayers, all that, canceling a halaqah, moving it, introducing a new one, a spot opened up in a soccer competition that you had, and starting to, things like that.
I would like to mention, like personally, I did try before to have like a question in the registration forms. Would you like to receive updates from us on WhatsApp? And not about, like, actually a good number of people signed up for it, and actually I was using WhatsApp broadcasts rather than creating a group where people talk to each other and people see each other's contacts. In WhatsApp, there's something called broadcast, so you can send out to many people, and actually those people who signed up for the WhatsApp,
Yeah.
you're not like spamming them.
Yeah.
So I think it actually worked. I think a good number of people signed up, and I think it was useful. But for broadcast, just there's a small trick, that technical trick, that you need to make sure that the other person actually saves your contact in his, like, saves your phone number in his contacts. If he didn't save your phone number broadcast, he will not receive your broadcast message.
Definitely. And these are all, I mean, the good thing about the avenues Brother Mustafa talked about the last few minutes is they're free. When you're working with a budget, you really have to explore different methods, and you have to be okay with the fact that, like, not take a person that people are leaving groups or ignoring or blocking. It is normal. The process is to find the sweet spot. It does take some time to realize, okay, this is what gets engaged. Whenever I post about this, people appreciate it. If talk about these things. So don't feel the pressure of, okay, I really have to know what I'm doing. A lot of us, I've been working in digital for 16 years. Tons of trial and error I'm doing till today. It's just people, even their attention span is changing. Their expectations are changing with new platforms. So what I'm trying to say is experiment, see what works for you. The great thing about the avenues Brother Mustafa was talking about is that they're free. They just require some time and dedication. Facebook and Google, if once you get involved in the paid side, it's a bit of a black box. You can find yourself paying more. I mean, the platform is are built for them to make money, not for you to make it. So you have to be very, very careful how you're using it.
Yeah, I would like to encourage audience, like if anyone would like to ask a question or share, let's say you tried before to promote an event and you found some challenges, so you can get advice from Brother Karim on how to mitigate this, like, in the future. I see Sister Zina is was active. She might share, like, or ask it, yeah, if you would like to ask something or share any positive or negative experience in the past with the marketing. Okay, maybe. But yeah, like I personally found this talk very useful. Like maybe I would like, maybe I'll try to wrap it up that for me, like one of the take-home messages is, as a marketing, cannot just, your role isn't just that every time you have an event you publish the poster. This is not what marketing should be. It should be that you have a long-term plan to, on social media, to post like engaging content like du'as, interesting facts, just photos of your events, or videos, or of photos of MSA members hanging out or doing something, right? Or short videos. This way, when you publish when you try to promote an event in the future, you're going to get more attendance. And also, it's an interesting fact that if an event is requires donation or fees, you don't be surprised that it's getting low engagement. So you might, in my opinion, I would say try to push for emails in that case, and WhatsApp, or pay for advertising. I'm not sure, like, what do you think is the how much someone should pay for advertising? Let's say you have an event, and let's say it's only $5 per person, you're expecting, let's say, 30 to show up. Do you
So
yeah.
paying is it's very tricky to predict. There are a lot of factors that go. And remember, when you're competing or when you're advertising, you're competing against Walmart that's trying to push products. So there's a lot of like it's really a bidding war, and your beautiful real estate. Usually, Facebook or Google would tell you what kind of like if you pay X, it will be viewed to let's say 10,000 people. They actually do give you these numbers, so you can take them as directional, just to understand what that kind of reach would get you. My suggestion also is, if you have a tight budget, is to start advertising a bit earlier, because the way these platforms work is that Google will take the highest bidder or Facebook with the real estate that they have. But if you have more time, it allows you more opportunities for ads to show up with a tighter budget.
But I think also MSAs have a smaller audience, so I would say the number of Muslim students on campus could be dozens or hundreds, right?
Yeah.
So maybe if you do like, as you mentioned, do like focus on advertising, like upload their emails, or maybe say those who like the page and their friends and so on.
Yeah, you have to be very careful when you're working, like we call when you're working with MSN and like the Muslim student. So it's almost like a niche. So you have to be very focused and pretty good with selecting the criteria, the fact that they're within, let's say, 10 kilometers of this location, that they've shown interest in Muslim things. So I think the hardest part is how you do the targeting and narrow it down to make sure that as much as you can. Of course, anybody that worked with advertising will know that it's very hard 100% of the time to only reach Muslims. You'll always reach now, because it's no longer as easy to go after religion. Like it used to be pretty straightforward in the past. Now you have to jump a bit through hoops to get it to that. So the targeting method is what matters. Usually people just put postal codes and try to do a geolocation or something like that, and focus on specific interests. One thing that helps is if you're an admin on one of the popular shuyukh, you can ask, or if you know one of the popular shuyukh, let's say I believe there's I forgot to say today, my brain is not functioning. The sheikh in Halifax, I can't think of the name at the top of my head, the one who's been there for ages. But either way, if you can ask them to have advertising right on their Facebook page. So what does that mean? That you can use his followers or her followers to advertise to something else. So there are neat tricks, because obviously somebody's following that sheikh, then most likely they're Muslim and would have interest in your product, and then you narrow down by age group and you have your pool of people. So
Jazakallah khairan, brother Karim. If anybody would like to ask any other question, please feel free, like, to unmute yourself or type in the chat. If not, like, I would like to to end this session and thank Brother Karim, and also would like to thank our sponsors, Hands for Charity. They are sponsor of this conference. Someone asked a question, what's the next session? Unfortunately, this is the last session of the conference, but we have your contacts and we'll try to solve some marketing techniques. So yeah, we might have future events regarding MSAs or youth in general. We'll keep you in contact. So I would like to as we thank our sponsors, Hands for Charity, to run like a short video from them. I don't know what type of advertising Karim will consider this. Is this organic or paid? But yeah, Hands for Charity, they are a great charity, registered charity here in Canada, and I would like to invite you to watch this very short video from them.
فعمل لجنات النعيم وطيبها أنعم بدار الخلد والرضوان إن كنت مشتاقا لها كلفا بها شوق الغريب لرؤية الأوطان إن كنت مشتاقا لها كلفا بها شوق الغريب لرؤية الأوطان كن محسنا فيما بقى فلربما تجزى عن الإحسان بالإحسان كن محسنا فيما بقى فلربما تجزى عن الإحسان بالإحسان كن محسنا فيما بقى